Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive deep again. This time we're going way beyond our everyday reality to explore this huge idea of multidimensionality.
Definitely.
And our guide for this journey is, well, you guessed it, Kuthumi Singh,
Of course.
in a message channeled through Jeffrey Hopp, as always.
Always insightful.
It's classic Kuthumi, full of humor and wisdom.
And playfulness.
But here's the thing. It's not just about understanding multidimensionality as some kind of cool concept.
Right.
Kuthumi wants us to connect to the practical ways it shows up in our lives, like right now.
So true.
You ready to dive in?
Absolutely. And you know what's really interesting about Kuthumi's take on all this is how he blends those super profound spiritual insights with this really lighthearted, often really playful energy.
It's true. It's like he's reminding us not to take ourselves too seriously, right? Even when we're exploring these really big questions about existence.
Exactly.
And speaking of not taking ourselves too seriously, anyone who's familiar with Kuthumi knows he loves to make Shambhala smile.
He does.
But underneath that playful exterior, there's this really deep recognition of Shambhala's role in the universe.
He sees us as something special.
He calls us bridgers.
I love that.
And I don't know about you, but that word always sparks my curiosity.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean to be a bridger between realms?
Well, essentially, Kuthumi sees Shambhala as pioneers, opening up creation to a whole new level of love and light.
Wow.
He even suggests that we're influencing the cosmos just by embracing who we truly are.
Think about the implications of that for a second. Our energy, our choices, our very being, rippling out and shaping the fabric of reality.
It's incredible, really.
It really is. It's almost like we're talking prisms, refracting light into infinite possibilities.
I love that image.
And here's something else that really struck me from Kuthumi's message. He talks about this epidemic of love spreading across the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know with all the news headlines bombarding us daily, that might sound a little optimistic, maybe even a little crazy.
I think that's precisely Kuthumi's point. He's challenging us to look beyond the surface you see, beyond the chaos and division, and recognize the underlying current of love that's always present, even in the darkest of times.
So it's about choosing where we focus our attention, right?
Yeah.
Because what we focus on expands.
Exactly.
But it's not just wishful thinking, is it? Kuthumi backs this up with his own experiences.
He's been there.
He talks about journeying across the planet, meeting people from all walks of life, and witnessing firsthand this inherent goodness within humanity.
He sees the best in us.
It's like he's saying, look, I've seen it with my own eyes. Love is the common thread that binds us all, even when it's hidden beneath layers of fear, pain, or doubt.
And that's such a powerful reminder, especially now,
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the illusion of separation, but Kuthumi is inviting us to remember our interconnectedness, our shared humanity.
And that brings us to the heart of this deep dive, multidimensionality.
Here we go.
Because if we can start to see this epidemic of love, as Kuthumi does, maybe we can also start to see ourselves and our reality through a more expansive lens. So we're talking multidimensionality, which, let's be honest, can sound a little out there.
Definitely.
Even for, those of us who've been on a spiritual path for a while.
Right?
I'll admit, I used to think of it as this abstract concept, something reserved for, enlightened beings or sci-fi movies.
It's easy to think about it that way.
Exactly. But Kuthumi, in his infinite wisdom, cuts through all that with this brilliant analogy, the straitjacket.
Oh, I like this one.
He talks about feeling like we're stuck in this rigid, limited experience of reality, confined by our beliefs.
Yeah.
Our perceptions, our very ways of thinking.
Our own little boxes.
And that straitjacket, that's what he's encouraging us to shed. I don't know about you, but there are days when that straitjacket analogy really resonates with me. Like when I'm feeling trapped by my own thoughts going around and around in circles, convinced that there's only one right way to do something or to be.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In those moments, it's like I'm wearing blinders, completely missing out on the bigger picture. Have you ever felt that way?
Absolutely. I think we all experience it to some degree, that feeling of being boxed in by our own limited perspectives. But what's so powerful about Kuthumi's message here is that he's reminding us that we have the power to break free from those self-imposed limitations, that multidimensionality isn't some distant concept, it's an inherent aspect of who we are.
Okay, so we're not just these singular beings stuck in a one-track reality.
Not at all.
But what does that actually look like? How do we begin to tap into this multidimensional self? And more importantly, what difference does it really make in our everyday lives?
Well, Kuthumi suggests that embracing our multidimensionality can have a profound impact on our well-being, both physically and mentally.
Really?
It's like we expand our capacity for healing, for joy, for experiencing life in all its fullness.
That's interesting because I often hear from people who are struggling with their health,
Of course.
whether it's chronic pain or a serious illness,
Right.
and they feel stuck like there's no way out.
They feel limited.
Is Kuthumi suggesting that multidimensionality could offer a new perspective, even a pathway to healing?
Absolutely. It's not about denying the reality of the physical body or the challenges we might be facing, but rather it's about recognizing that we are more than just our physical form, that there are other dimensions, other energies, other possibilities that can influence our well-being in really profound ways.
So it's not about rejecting traditional medicine or anything like that,
Right.
but rather expanding our definition of healing to include these multidimensional aspects of ourselves.
Exactly. And it's important to note that Kuthumi isn't claiming to have all the answers.
Right.
He's not offering a quick fix or a magic pill.
Of course not.
Instead, he's inviting us to explore the vast potential that resides within each of us to tap into the wisdom and healing power of our own multidimensionality.
Which brings up another important point. If we're going to shed this metaphorical straitjacket and step into the fullness of who we are, how do we actually do that? What's the key that unlocks this multidimensional potential? So if our multidimensional selves are already within us, how do we actually access that?
Well, according to Kuthumi, the key lies in something we often dismiss as frivolous imagination.
Imagination. You
Uh,
mean like daydreaming, pretending all the stuff we're told to grow out of as adults?
Exactly. Kuthumi wants us to reclaim that childlike sense of wonder and possibility. Remember, he's all about making Schomburg smile, and what better way to do that than by encouraging us to play?
Okay.
He even playfully suggests things like eating ice cream for breakfast or riding a floating bicycle.
Okay, I have to admit that part made me laugh out loud. But I also found myself wondering, what's the deeper message here? Because I have a feeling Kuthumi is not just suggesting we all switch to a dessert-first diet.
You're right, there's a profound message woven into his playful suggestions. Think about it. What do those examples have in common? They challenge our rigid thinking patterns, the shoulds and shouldn'ts that keep us bound to a limited view of reality.
I see that.
When we allow ourselves to imagine the impossible, even something as simple as a floating bicycle, we're essentially stretching the fabric of our perception, opening up to the possibility that maybe, just maybe, there's more to life than meets the eye.
So it's not about the ice cream or the bicycle, literally, but rather the act of engaging our imagination as a way to break free from those limiting beliefs.
Precisely. And Kuthumi encourages us to approach this exploration with a sense of joy and curiosity rather than seriousness or expectation. He's not asking us to master complex meditation techniques or astral travel to distant realms. He's simply inviting us to play, to allow our imaginations to run wild, to remember what it feels like to believe in the impossible.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this ties into the whole multidimensionality thing. But I'm also curious about something else Kuthumi mentioned, encountering our own darkness as we venture into these unknown realms. It reminds me of those movies where someone steps through a magical portal and suddenly finds themselves face to face with their shadow self. It can feel a little daunting, even scary.
You're right. It's natural to feel a sense of apprehension when confronting aspects of ourselves that we've perhaps buried or denied. But here's the thing. Kuthumi doesn't want us to fear those darker aspects. In fact, he offers a surprisingly simple yet profound piece of advice for navigating those encounters. Smile.
Smile at our inner demons. That's an interesting approach.
It might sound counterintuitive, but there's a deep wisdom in Kuthumi's suggestion. Remember, everything we encounter in the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So when we encounter something that triggers fear or judgment, it's often a sign that we're encountering a part of ourselves that needs healing or integration.
So instead of running away from those shadow aspects, we're being asked to meet them with compassion, maybe even a little humor.
Exactly, because when we can approach those parts of ourselves with love and acceptance, we allow them to transform. And that's how we truly step into the fullness of who we are, shadows and all.
It's like we're reclaiming those fragmented pieces of ourselves and weaving them back into the tapestry of our being.
Beautifully put. And that brings us to Kuthumi's concept of the and. He emphasizes that it's not about abandoning this reality or trying to escape into some idealized spiritual realm. It's about embracing the paradox of living in multiple dimensions simultaneously.
So it's not about choosing one reality over another, but rather experiencing the fullness of both and maybe even more all at the same time.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we're not just one thing, but rather a magnificent tapestry of contradictions, complexities, and infinite possibilities. It's about holding space for all of it, The light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow, the known and the unknown.
This "and" concept really resonates with me. It's like we're being given permission to embrace the messy, paradoxical nature of being human without judgment or the need to compartmentalize. But how do we actually bring this into our everyday lives? It's one thing to grasp it intellectually, but how do we embody this multidimensional awareness in a way that feels tangible, real?
Kuthumi suggests that we incorporate practices into our lives that nurture our connection to our inner world and ignite our imagination. This could include things like spending time in nature journaling, creating art, or simply allowing ourselves to daydream and explore the realms of possibility without judgment or limitation.
So it's about approaching life with a renewed sense of curiosity and playfulness, trusting that our imagination is not just a frivolous pastime, but a powerful tool for self-discovery and transformation.
Exactly. And as we begin to embody this multidimensional awareness, we naturally begin to radiate a different frequency, one that ripples out and affects not just our own lives, but the world around us.
It's like we become walking, talking embodiments of the "and," inspiring others to embrace the fullness of their own being. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into multidimensionality with Kuthumi Singh. But before we go, we'd like to leave you with a question to ponder. If, as Kuthumi suggests, our imagination holds the key to unlocking our multidimensionality, what seemingly impossible dream or desire might you allow yourself to explore today? Dream big, dear listeners, and let your imaginations soar.